how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. I am Jack, and you are on my Junkyard. Got a great show planned for you today. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff. What? Already comments are going crazy. It's upside pie? Anyway, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. Got a lot of really fun things to feature on the show today, including a killer interview with Something Like Yesterday frontman Kelly Pippin, a talent performance from the one and only drummer from the Veer Union, Ricardo Viana, which we're going to have an awesome time watching, I'm sure. We also have some news stories. We'll talk about some other fun things happening in the world. We'll talk about my world of writing and all that fun stuff as well. So stick around, invite your friends. Go ahead and hit that heart button a bunch of times because that intro music was composed and recorded just for this show by the same person who submitted a talent video for us today, Ricardo Viana. So very, very happy to have that. That is unique to our show. Nobody else is ever going to have that music. It was made specifically for us. Yeah, very, very exciting. Anyway, so with that said, what do you say we get started? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jack's Junkyard. I'm your host, Jack Kiesling. I'm sitting down tonight with the front man of the country outlaw band Something Like Yesterday. He's a man named Kelly Pippin, somebody I know really well and have worked with in the past. I'm very excited to be sitting down with Kelly tonight. Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm just a good old boy from Missouri that wound up in Colorado due to the military and just out here doing what I like to do and trying to spread a little love around the world. That's all.
That's awesome. I like that you said spread a little love around the world. That's a theme that shows through in a lot of the things that you do. So your band, Something Like Yesterday, how long has that existed?
The concept existed long before the band did, but the band has existed since 2014.
Okay.
So I mean, music's been a part of me forever and a decade, but yeah, the actual band Something Like Yesterday has been around since about 2014.
Okay, so you said music's been a part of your life forever. What are we talking here? Like, what's your background musically?
So, I mean, I grew up, obviously, kid in school, I took band. I was one of the band geeks. Yes, that's true. I played drums, though, and I played percussion up until I picked up the guitar, and I didn't pick up the guitar until I formed Something Like Yesterday. And I bought Rocksmith for the PS3, and I've taught myself how to play guitar. Now, I had to go get lessons to sing and play, yeah. So I had to go get lessons to learn to sing and play, and that falls with Bill and Carol St. John at Music Central. Carol is a fantastic person, and her and Bill helped foster my love of music and also get me to the point that I could actually play a guitar and sing at the same time.
Okay, so and you're just coming off of a huge performance at VetFest 2020, and then you played at VetFest 2019 as well, correct?
Yeah, we played at the very first VetFest. We were actually the headliners, and that one went way past the time that we were supposed to be there. And this year with Sailor Jerry coming in, Ryan from Disgruntled wanted us to open for Sailor Jerry, so we went in front. Obviously, Lo Becker, opened the beginning of the show, and what a wonderful guy. And I'm glad I got to meet him, and just a fantastic group of fellas.
Right. So now you guys put out a killer song and music video after the Las Vegas shootings in 2017. Talk to us about that process. How did you arrive at the conclusion that this is what I'm going to do to commemorate that loss of life in this tragic event?
So a lot of times the way I write is it's all emotionally driven, a lot of it. But sometimes something will hit me hard enough that I have to put it down on paper like right away. And I was sitting, after all that happened, me and my lead guitarist at the time, we'd been working back and forth on some different stuff, and something just popped in my head. The whole rhythm that you hear in that song, everything, it was there. Like, there was no figuring it out. It was just there. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something for these folks, and I'm going to figure out something. And I'd been watching the news stories, and it just kind of was heartbreaking. And so I thought, well, we got to figure out how to do something for these folks. So when I released Dry Your Eyes, Love Is There, we literally wrote that song in 10 minutes. I went over to my lead guitarist's house and I said, hey, we got to figure this out now. So we figured it all out, and we wanted to keep it simple. We didn't want to, a whole bunch of drums. We didn't want a whole bunch of, electric guitar or anything like that. We wanted to keep it on acoustic and just keep it very open and just full of heart instead of, you know, all the flash and all the flair.
So a moment ago, you were talking about what's next, and you said you kind of alluded to an album sometime in the future.
Well, I've been alluding to an album for a while. It's just been with everything, you know, I have a regular job that supports my hobby, you know, and everything else I like to do. But so it's a little expensive to record. So I started a Patreon page, and I started a Venmo so people could donate to the band and stuff like that. And so I did all that stuff just to kind of get some spare money so we could go back in the studio and actually get the second album recorded. I've worked out all the songs that are going to be on the album, and it's been a labor of love because I wanted to put 14 on there, but there's a couple of them that I just don't feel like fit with this particular album. They may go on another one. But then recently I wrote another one that I felt like might go on there. So I don't know. I may put the unlucky number 13 on the album and just do 13 songs. But I'm not superstitious, so I don't even care. But some people are like, don't do it. I'm like, it's fine. But,
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the name of the album is going to be We Ain't Crazy. So it's after one of the songs that, you know, we played at Vet Fest. And it's probably one of the favorite songs that people love to hear because it says we ain't crazy, but we ain't right.
So any plans to branch out of Colorado anytime in the near future?
So we have in the past. We actually went all the way to Sheridan, Wyoming to play Trails in Concert Park. We did a benefit for a VA hospital up there. And it was an amazing experience. It was something that we had a lot of fun with. And I mean, I've played different places and we've been different places in Colorado, but to go on a tour is a hard thing to do, especially, you know, when you have a regular job, you have to take a vacation. And then in that vacation for 2 weeks, you got to drive around the country and just see what places will let you play. Right. And so that's the poor man's tour. And, you know, it works out. But, you know, most of the time in the end, you'll come back with more money than you left with sometimes. Sometimes you'll come back with a lot less than you left with. Just depends on the crowds, the places you get to play, things like that.
So this is not your only thing. You're a busy guy. So you have a day job. You are the front man of something like yesterday. You are also the personality behind the Veterans Forum, which is a very popular internet-based show. Used to be on Military Veterans Radio. Now it's just internet-based, but very, very popular. And on that show, you do talk about music a good bit, but you also talk a lot about, you know, equality and kindness and loving each other and things like that. You also say those things on stage during your shows. So why the big emphasis on that loving each other and being kind to each other? Where did that come from?
So since I was a little kid, my mother, when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money, so she went without a lot. Because I come from that background, it's always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, treat people like you want to be treated, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to take it to another level because people look at Christians a lot of times and they call us hypocrites and they say all kinds of things to us. But I always wanted to set an example for anybody that was around me. I didn't care if it was the lowest guy on the totem pole or the highest guy on the totem pole. I didn't care who you were, where you came from, what your circumstances were. What I wanted to show you was what the good side of a human being looks like. And that's been my goal from the time I was young till now. Even I try to give everybody the benefit of a doubt, and I try to put my best foot forward. And yes, I get frustrated just like everybody else, but the whole thing behind that is just, if you operate from a place of love, kindness, and acceptance, then you're never going to go wrong.
Absolutely. Well, Kelly, I got to say thank you so much for sitting down with me tonight.
Not a problem.
Folks, you got to look up Kelly Pippin on the internet. Look up the Veterans Forum. That's his weekly live show as well. Really, really fun show. He talks about a lot of current events happening in our world today. Spurs some great conversation on with that. Also, check out Something Like Yesterday. Check him out on Facebook, but hit him up on Patreon and Reverb Nation and all of the other sources. They're amazing, and you definitely need to follow this band. All right, so that was Something Like Yesterday frontman Kelly Pippin, who sat down with me last week to talk about his band and his life journey and a whole bunch of other things that he's involved in. The guy is super busy, right? So he has a day job. He's actually got his son working with him this summer, which is really excited, kind of passing on the trade there. He's also, as you know, the frontman of Something Like Yesterday. He is a internet personality with his weekly show on the Veterans Forum. He used to be on the radio. He's done a ton of stuff. The guy is super talented and honestly one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet. Every time I'm around him, I'm just reminded, like, this is what you can do to impact the world if you choose to be positive and you choose to treat people with that kindness and acceptance, like, right off the bat. So really enjoy hanging out with him. I miss being part of the Colorado crew that he's in and getting to see those guys on a regular basis. I've been on Kelly's show a few times, and it's just been awesome, and then I left. So at any rate, get on Facebook, Reverb Nation, Spotify, whatever you use, and search Something Like Yesterday. Look up Kelly's band. They're awesome. I'm not into country, but I fully support their band. Their music is awesome. Like, I wouldn't do country if it wasn't for the Becker Band and Something Like Yesterday. So, yeah. Again, check them out on Facebook. You guys hammer that heart button on your screen right now. Show Kelly some Pippin some love. He definitely deserves it. You're very welcome, Kelly. Thanks for being on the show. Yeah. With that, on to our next segment. Deanna Hawkins is a retired U.S. Army soldier and Medal of Honor recipient enjoying the quiet life of an artist in Portland, Oregon. Without her knowledge, documents proving diabolical manipulation of the American people, perpetrated by the government, fall into her lap. Forced to run for her life, Deanna must work with unlikely companions to deliver the files to the people. Sinister forces strive to stop her, while an unknown guardian angles for her success. This success could result in the Second American Civil War, while failure could cement the power of tyrants for generations to come. Under the weight of that knowledge, Deanna Hawkins will discover what it means to walk the thin red line between duty and death.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The News.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to News in the Junkyard. I'm your host, Jack Kiesling. Alright guys, tonight some fun stories for you. First and foremost, a mural that cleans the air? What? In fact, this is true. So special photoreactive paints have been developed, and a really cool mural has been put up in Warsaw, Poland. And this specific mural in Warsaw, Poland, does a really good job cleaning the air. It cleans approximately as much carbon emissions and all that stuff out of the air as 300 trees would over the course of a year. So really, really cool there. What's interesting is this is part of a much bigger project going on in Poland and indeed around the world. To eventually, the goal is to be able to clean as much air as 3,000 trees with the project in around the Warsaw area. So as they continue to put up those murals, air quality goes up. This particular one is painted on the side of an apartment building, which is adjacent to a public transit center. So there's a lot of carbon emissions and stuff like that coming out of that transit center, and they are then impacted positively by this mural. So Warsaw, the second city in the world to put up a mural like this. The first one was in Bangkok, Thailand. There are now 15 cities around the world who have undergone projects to put up murals like this with the photocatalytic paints. So these paints are activated by the sun, and they can function for about 5 years after they're put into place. So at that point, they would have to come back and repaint the design or change the design, whatever, but put new photoreactive paints up in order to continue the air quality project. But I think it's really interesting because oftentimes when we think about, air scrubbers, they're giant devices, they're equipment that are put on top of buildings or, in various places around the city that scrub all of those pollutants and emissions out of the air. The problem with those is everything that gets scrubbed out of the air then has to be dealt with because these deposits are now put into filters and so on and so forth, and they're not super efficient. Additionally, those pieces of equipment are powered by electricity, which in many cases is generated by pollutant emitting methods. So photoreactive paint doesn't need any of that. It literally needs sunshine, and then it'll work. So really cool. This particular mural features smiling flowers and just beautiful bright colors and so on and so forth to remind the citizens that see it that this entire effort is to beautify the city and clean the air at the same time. So really good job. Super excited to see projects like this cropping up around the world. We can clean our environment and beautify our cities at the same time. Very cool. For our next story, unfortunately the video wouldn't play. Many of you noticed that the show was delayed today. It was because of technical issues getting this video to play. However, I'm very excited to talk about this. This woman that you see behind the play icon that won't go away is Aracelis Hernandez. She is from Peru originally. She now lives in Georgia. And during the pandemic, she had some financial troubles. She was down to her last $10. She went to the grocery store and bought the ingredients to make some empanadas, which is a passion of hers. She made about 50 empanadas, went out onto the street, and sold them. She made enough money to buy some more ingredients, made more empanadas, sold those, so on and so forth, and eventually made enough money to start her very own business, something that she previously never dreamed of being able to do. So she opened the Crazy Empanada, which is her restaurant. She is super excited about the place. Everybody who's been there says it is an amazing experience. The food is fantastic. They say that she is always smiling and super happy to greet customers and just loves to share her food with everyone that comes in. She also said that it is her goal to make everyone who comes into the restaurant feel like they are in Peru and they're eating Peruvian cuisine, and it's just an amazing experience for everyone. She also promises that no one will be able to forget the experience they had in that restaurant. Interestingly enough, I was in a Mexican restaurant in Minnesota once that I will never ever forget, but that was for not the same reasons as we're hoping you will always remember the experience in the Crazy Empanada. I will never forget my experience because of the gastrointestinal issues that came along with that. On a side note, if you go into a Mexican restaurant and the people working in the kitchen are not Mexican, reconsider your choices. Yeah. I'm not saying that many people can't create very nice Mexican food, but it's not likely. All right? So, yeah. Very excited for her. And the big thing about this is she got down to $10 left. And she was like, nope, I'm going to do something with this. Bought ingredients, made empanadas, sold empanadas. Now she's worked all the way up to having her own place. So if you're sitting back there thinking, man, I've got this talent and I've got this passion, but I can't do it because I don't have money, or because the odds are against me, or whatever other is going on in the world, the reality of it is she did all of that in the middle of a pandemic. So, what you waiting for? Right? Just something to consider there. Okay? In the comments, the paint is probably nuclear. It is not. Prepare for fallout to be real. There are worse things that could happen, I suppose. Yeah. You said pay for your sins. I've been playing a lot of Far Cry 5 lately, and that's a very heavy theme in that game. So, yikes. All right. Let's have another news story.
Ladies and gentlemen,
oh my gosh. I am so excited to share this story with you. So the image that you see on screen is from Tara and Zach's wedding. This lovely couple was married on August 15th, which was Saturday, at the Holy Cross Church in Fargo, North Dakota. They then had their reception at the Wild Tara Cider Bar, also in Fargo, and it was awesome. Here's why we're talking about this on the news. So much of what we see in the world today is negativity. It's, this bad circumstance, or this tragedy, or this accident, or whatever, right? We have got to learn to celebrate and get excited about the positive things that happen. So even though there's a pandemic going on, and even though there's safety regulations that have to be followed and all kinds of stuff going on, these two young people still found a way to put together an absolutely beautiful ceremony and reception to celebrate their relationship and their love. And I am going to silence my dogs. You know, and it was a great wedding. It was really great. It was super beautiful. The bridesmaids' dresses were awesome. The groomsmen looked great. They had a live band at the reception. And generally speaking, I'm not a fan of reception bands because I don't think they ever do a great job. But these guys were really good. They weren't over the top. They didn't go crazy with the self-promotion. The music fit. You know, there wasn't any weird, like, Adam Sandler style covers of pop songs to make them wedding-ish. Like, there was none of that. It was awesome. The food was really good, and we were at a cider bar, so that was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. And I was super proud of myself because I came up with a great hashtag for the event. It was Wentz Upon a Time. You know, because that was the groom's last name. But anyway, so hit that heart button a number of times and just give these guys some love for, you know, getting married, right? Hopefully that's something we only do once in our lives. I know my wedding was freaking awesome. You guys won't get to know about my wedding again until my anniversary comes around, where I do my annual sit here and watch my wedding video with me because I am in control of the show. But yeah, congratulations, Tara and Zach. You guys are awesome. Super great wedding. Super honored to be invited and be a part of that. And yeah, share it on the show. Why not? It's my show. Ladies and gentlemen, that is this week in the news.
The Fists of Arken is the debut novel by author Jack Kiesling. Action, adventure, and personal challenges are the focal point of this immersive book set against a backdrop of war. Deep character development and wide perspectives explore social issues relevant to the real world. Dive in and discover the answer to the age-old question faced by leaders many. What kind of royal will you be? This is a paid advertisement for Jack Kiesling Books and the Fists of Arken.
Alright, welcome back. So, yeah, we are still live. Super excited to have you on the show joining us today. Yeah. So this guy's really awesome. He runs a podcast and does a whole bunch of stuff. So, Marcus, thank you for being here, checking out the show. Super cool. All right, so what's up in Arken? As many of you know, and you've already seen advertisements for, I have 2 books out and available right now. The first one, which came out in September 2019, The Fists of Arken, which you just saw a really cool commercial for. Yeah, that commercial was really cool, right? Yeah, I know it was. Tell me my stuff's cool. Anyway, so this book, super exciting, action-adventure novel set in a fictitious medieval environment. Basically focuses on a couple of different small groups of people as they deal with this massive war going on around them. So less of a hack and slash, you know, medieval knights cutting each other apart. There is some of that in there too. But more of a how do these people deal with the craziness around them, okay? My second book, which came out not 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, somewhere in that ballpark, A Thin Red Line, a completely different genre, different writing style, different all of it. Okay, so this book focuses on a small group of people who come into possession of documents that prove the United States government is up to some shenanigans. I know that is a super far-fetched premise, okay? The American government would never do anything to manipulate us. Anyway, so they come into possession of documents that prove the government's up to no good, and it's all about their efforts to get those documents exposed to the American people without getting dead in the process. If you have not checked out these 2 books, what is wrong with you? Buy them! Buy my books! Okay? Both books available on Amazon, $3 for digital download, $12 for paperback, as you see right here. And guys, these are not normal paperbacks. These are really high quality. Okay, the covers feel amazing. They're gorgeous. Okay, man, there are a ton of people on the show right now. This is awesome. Yeah, anyway, so check these out. You can also order copies directly from me and get your autographed copy with your special message in them. And I send stickers with the autographed copies. So you can get cool, you know, Jack Kiesling book stickers, and each book has kind of its own little special sticker that goes with it. So if you want autographed copies of the book, then just contact me directly through any of my social media channels, my email, whatever. If you have my phone number, you can text me. It's fine. And we'll work out the details there. So super excited. I've actually sold more from people ordering them direct from me than I have on the internet, which was the exact opposite with the Fists of Arken. Sold way more on Amazon than I did in person. Autographed ordering direct from me. So I did get the prime time slot. Yeah. Yes, sure. If you can figure out how to get a carrier pigeon to bring me money and then carry you a book back, I am 100% into that. Just be warned, my dog might try to eat the carrier pigeon. All right, so just keep that in mind. As for the next project coming out of my crazy mind, as we've talked about extensively, I'll be doing a reissue of the Fists of Arken. Not a lot's going to change, just the cover design is going to get brought more in line with the cover design of A Thin Red Line. So, simple things like the spine will get rearranged so that it all fits together, and, minor stuff like that, and little tweaks of the language and editing stuff. So no big deal there. After that is done, I'll be working on the next brand new novel. Yeah, get the 2-pack for sure. Get them both. I'll be working on the next novel, which will be the sequel to The Fists of Arken. That's the wrong book. It'll be the sequel to The Fists of Arken, which will be titled The Tears of Arken, and it will be a continuation of the adventure for the majority of the main characters from that book. There will be an introduction of some new characters and some stuff like that. Big difference in terms of what's going on in the world. So when we were in The Fists of Arken, major war, right? Country under attack. Oh my god, what are we gonna do? Right? This kind of deal. With the Tears of Arken, we're now dealing with the aftermath of a lot of that. So some new conflicts are going to arise. Some new enemies might show up. We'll see new character traits and new development and journeys out of some of the existing characters. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm very excited to share that with you. The plot outline is done for it. I've just got to get through the reissue of Fists of Arken before I can start bringing that to you. Yes, I wrote them and grabbed the wrong book. And here is why. So, you might have noticed that I hung some stuff on the wall, right? So this has been on my desk forever. It was when I very first started trying to figure out how I was going to make my logo into stickers. So that was the first trial run of the sticker. Well, it's been on my desk forever. I decided I was going to hang it on the wall. It looks pretty cool up there. But I had the camera flipped in the past. So, what is left and right on your screen is not left and right to me, right? So this is my left hand. Yeah. Okay, but it appears on the right-hand side of the screen as I'm looking at my monitor. And so once I hung that on the wall, the words were backwards, right? So I had to reflip the camera, and it's got me all kinds of confused. So I knew I wanted to pick up the Fists of Arken, but it's sitting on the desk on my right. I had just been holding them like this, and so I got super confused as to which one was which, so I reached down and picked up the wrong one. Yeah, I'm not a very smart person. All right. And it's funny, I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine recently who also does a web-based broadcasting show, and he does a killer job, and they have really high production values, and it's awesome. And I was talking to him about it, and he's telling me all these things they do for their, production to get their videos to sync up right, and sound quality and all this stuff, and using video filters, and they've got like real-time closed captions and all this stuff. And I'm talking to him, and I'm listening to him tell me all this stuff, and I'm like, I am in way over my head. Like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff, right? The other side of it, too, is that is his sole occupation, right? So he does web-based broadcasting for a number of different sources and produces for different personalities and stuff like that. So that's his sole occupation. So he's got a ton of time to set that stuff up. I don't know. Eventually, maybe we'll get to that level. Yeah, it is a ton of tech. You're right, Ryan. And that sounds really cool, and I would love to be able to bring that high-level production value to you guys. But a lot is going to have to happen for me to be able to do that, because as it is right now, I kind of get a block of about 4 hours to build the show, and honestly, it takes more than that. So, the way it is right now, and to deliver that high level tech, we're talking a whole lot more time investment that I just don't have currently. So maybe someday, when life changes and circumstances, allow me more time, we can get that high level with the show. But I think it's pretty great the way it is, minus the sound effects not always working correctly. But, it is what it is. All right. So anyway, so that's what's up in Arken, working on the reissue of the Fists of Arken and getting ready for the Tears of Arken. Super, super fun stuff. On to the next segment. All right. Really, really excited. So, short story winner for last week's contest. Wow, my captions are not good today. Whoop. And that is the wrong thing. What is happening? Huh. Okay, so I don't know how this got screwed up, but the captions are goofed up. The winner of last week's short story contest, which was What Happened to My Dignity, was the title of the short story, was Kelly Pippin. He got a number of reacts on the original post. So let us discover what happened to Kelly Pippin's dignity. Okay, so here I am, doing things I said I would never do. Desperate times, however, have forced me into desperate situations. This work is pushing me to my limits. Shoveling this waste is disgusting. The putrid stench stays with you all day. It infests your clothes and hangs on like sap hangs on a tree. I was once in a corner office until the world just crashed. I wore suits and ties, shoes polished into a mirror shine. Now I put on rubber boots and trudge out into what is left of this world to toil for food. Dignity has no place here, only survival. All that matters now is living. There is no economy, no government, and there is no law. Only survival. So I really love this short story. It is truly the definition of a short story, right? There's not a ton to it. So we don't know. But what I love about it is that we don't know, right? So Kelly has painted us a picture here that we're not super sure what's going on, which it leaves a ton open to interpretation. The first time I read the short story, I was like, okay, cool. So, Kelly was a business executive, or this character was a business executive, had a really great life, corporate office, the whole deal. And something has befallen his career. And now he's like, I don't know, cleaning up porta-johns or working septic systems or something like that, right? The second time I read it, I was like, man, maybe this is, a global apocalypse has happened. Like maybe something else crazy has gone on here. The third time I read it, I was thinking, okay, maybe I was right the first time. This character used to be a really high level executive and lost their job, and now they're like muckraking stables or something like that. Yeah, it's really hard to tell what the original author's intent was behind this piece, but I think that's the beauty of the piece. I love writing sort of unidentified or undefined scenarios and letting the reader kind of work out on their own what they want that to be. And I think it was a really cool story to tell. And man, Kelly can write songs. Dude can write short stories. So really cool there. As you see on the screen, next week's short story will be a romantic scene in an unromantic place. After the show, I'll put that post up on the page. Write a short story based off of the title, A Romantic Scene in an Unromantic Place. Drop your short story in the comments. At the end of the week, the short story with the most reacts will get read out loud on the show and featured on my website, jackkiesling.com. So thank you to everyone participating in the short story contest thus far. We've had a number of different winners. Ryan Desmond's won. Pamela Desmond has won. Jen McMullen won. Kelly Pippin, this is his first victory. So really cool stuff. Thank you guys so much. It's so much fun having these short story contests and seeing what you guys create. Yeah. First date in a porta pooper. Huh. Well, if that's the story you want to write, sir, write it. Speaking of people who are talented writers, let's see some other talent. Up next, a talent segment you won't want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Junkyard's Got Talent. Super excited tonight to share our next performer with you. This guy is somebody that I recently got to know a little bit. He's done some composing work for me. He composed the theme song for our show, as well as the theme song for a Thin Red Line commercials, and just an amazing guy, super fun to talk to. And he also happens to be the drummer of a really good band. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our next performer, Ricardo Viana. Wow. Okay, you guys gotta hit that heart button a million times, right? Ricardo Viana delivers an incredible performance. He's an amazing musician. And that video right there is just mind-blowing. Some of the things he does in that video are just crazy. The speed, but also the precision, right? Super, super clean performance, amazing drummer, very, very talented musician, heck of a nice guy. You guys gotta give a million hearts for Ricardo Viana. And he is the 4th contestant on the Junkyard's Got Talent. If you have a talent that you want to get featured on the show, it's really simple. All you gotta do is make a video and send it to me, right? Shoot me a brief introduction and be like, yo, this is who I am. I'm going to do some stuff. Watch this. Send it on in and we'll feature on the show. If you have an up-and-coming artist in your friend group or your family or anybody out there you think it would be cool for them to get a little bit of internet exposure, right? We will have playoffs for the Junkyard's Got Talent at the end of the season, somewhere in about the October timeframe, in which you will have an opportunity to vote for your favorite Junkyard's Got Talent contestants. The winner will get an awesome prize. You want to be a part of this, all right? You want your friends to be a part of this. So make sure you let them know, hey, this cool thing's happening. Send videos in, all right? Awesome. Very cool. On to the next. Deanna Hawkins is a retired U.S. Army soldier and Medal of Honor recipient enjoying the quiet life of an artist in Portland, Oregon. Without her knowledge, documents proving diabolical manipulation of the American people, perpetrated by the government, fall into her lap. Forced to run for her life, Deanna must work with unlikely companions to deliver the files to the people. Sinister forces strive to stop her, while an unknown guardian angles for her success. This success could result in the Second American Civil War, while failure could cement the power of tyrants for generations to come. Under the weight of that knowledge, Deanna Hawkins will discover what it means to walk the thin red line between duty and death. The end of the world is here! The sky is falling, probably because of the radioactive paint Warsaw's putting on their buildings. Just kidding. And thank you for that joke, Ryan. Yeah, so let's check in on some comments real quick. Yeah, you're right. I forgot. Chris Gullick won a writing contest as well. Yeah. He submitted a number of really good pieces for the writing contest. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a heck of a kit, but I would expect nothing less out of a professional drummer, right? Yeah, so Ricardo again plays for the band The Veer Union, who just released a new song called Slaves to the System that is just unbelievable. If you haven't checked it out, what is wrong with you? They're on Spotify, iMusic, all of the sources that you can get it out there. So check out The Veer Union, check out their new release. They should have a new album coming up pretty soon, and I've actually talked to those guys about doing an interview for the show after that album release. I can imagine getting ready for an album release is probably a pretty hectic thing to be a part of. So once that's done, hopefully we'll have those guys on the show for an interview segment. But no matter what, check out the Veer Union. Go support those guys. They're an amazing group of guys that put out some incredible music. So yeah, you can feel jealousy flowing to Kelly Pippin over those drums. I don't know. I mean, maybe Kelly's really happy with his drummer. I don't know. I don't know if Ricardo does country music. But he is available for, musical assistance for a small fee, I'm sure. So, all right, cool. So, guys, COVID. We've talked about this again. My fondest dream is to not have this segment in the show anymore because COVID is not happening anymore. That has not come true. My dreams have not been granted by the mystical genie that, supposedly grants dreams. So COVID is still very much a thing, right? So as many of you know, you followed the pictures that I was posting all weekend. My wife and I just traveled to Fargo, North Dakota for Once Upon a Time, the wedding that we attended of Tara and Zach, and it was amazing. But there was a lot of COVID stuff that we had to pay attention to along the way. Interestingly enough, North Dakota does not have a mask mandate like almost every other state does. So we'll get to that. It started with, we go to the airport, we've got our masks on exactly like we're supposed to be. I was really actually surprised and pleasantly surprised to see almost everybody. I don't think I saw anybody in the airport that wasn't wearing their mask. So that's cool.
First time.
Yeah, first time. So then we had some minor stuff happen. There was a mechanical issue with the aircraft. We were supposed to fly to Atlanta and then change planes, but that flight got canceled due to mechanical issues with the aircraft. So we ended up changing our itinerary and flying to LaGuardia. Now, here's the interesting thing. We had a pretty tremendous freak out coming into New York because the flight attendants come over the PA system and they're like, hey, so New York State law, blah, blah, blah. You have to mandatory 14-day quarantine if you're coming into New York State. And we're like,
Well, no, she said something about there's a form that we needed to fill out and show to the security person at the gate.
Yeah.
And to have that ready, like, when we arrive at the gate.
yeah. So first, I'm having this freak out because I'm like, we can't be stuck in New York for 14 days. That's insane. That's crazy. There's no way that they're going to require people who are just changing planes to do this. That would be insane. So, okay, fine. So then we get the form, you know, we're filling it out on the internet. And, you know, by the time we answer all the questions, it's like, all right, you're good to go. Basically, like, you don't have to do the 14-day mandatory quarantine because you're not staying in New York. And we're like, yeah, for sure, we're not. But then we're, you know, my wife and I are expecting to walk off the plane and have like some pissed off security guard from like, you know, New York State employment or something standing there being like, show me your form, right? There was nothing. Nobody, I mean, maybe that existed like when you left the security check-in, but we were told it would be when you get off the plane at the gate. So we were like ready for it.
At the gate.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what was going on with that, but I'm super glad that that does not happen everywhere because that would make travel impossible for 99% of people, right? But anyway, so we get done with the New York experience, which was actually really cool. My wife had never been to New York before, so flying in, she got to see like the New York City skyline and, you know, the HUD and like all those other cool things that are out there. I've been to New York City a couple of times. I love the city. It's amazing. I would never want to live there, but it's super cool to visit. Anyway, so we flew from there to Minneapolis and then on up to Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo is actually a cool town. It's pretty neat. One of my wife's family members owns a thrift store there that supports a homeless shelter, kind of a rehabilitation center. So that was really cool to be able to see. It was awesome to see family, but no matter what was going on, there was always that lingering like COVID, you know, thing in the background. So, you know, it's like masks on and then like somebody wants to take a picture. So you like snap your mask off and like you take a deep breath and you're like, snap your mask off, get in the, okay, I can breathe, you know. It was fun. I mean, it was a great experience. And what was cool is like once the wedding got started, it was like all the COVID stuff didn't really matter anymore. You know what I mean? We were just having the party and celebrating, you know, this marriage and everything. And it was really, really cool. You're getting a shout out. Hi, Izzy, by the way.
Hi.
And it was spelled correctly. You know what's funny is so people misspell her name all the time, right?
That's not common.
And I get way more upset about it than she does. So, yeah. Gabriel, my youngest, asked who is the girl that said something. That is Shums, also known as Izzy. Peanut number 1. Yes.
I am the peanut.
I am the peanut. But it's really cool that your kid's watching the show. It's awesome. Thank you for sharing it with future generations. But yeah, so then, you know, wedding over, get back on the plane. It's like all the COVID stuff again. We didn't have to go through New York the second time, so we didn't have to do the forum the second time around. But yeah, really, really great experience. And I think that it's really important to note that even though there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that many of us have never experienced before, we got pandemic, we got political unrest, we got all kinds of craziness going on, life still finds a way. Thank you, Jeff Goldblum. All right. But the reality of it is, no matter what's going on, if we choose to continue to see the light in the world, then we'll find it, right? If all you are willing to look for is darkness, that's all you're going to see. But no matter how dark it gets, if you hunt the light, you'll find it eventually. And this weekend and this wedding and everything that we did was proof positive of that no matter what's going on, we can still come together as family and celebrate people and have a great time, you know, and be safe doing it, of course. But, you know, we've got to accept that this is part of our world now. You know, we still constantly have people that are telling us that this is all BS. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because the entire world agreed to this massive conspiracy just because of US politics. Sure. You know, but like New Zealand just went back to stage 3 lockdown and like they're going through it. And so many other countries in the world are going through it. And this is just part of it now. But guys, this is not the first time that we've been through this, right? Influenza pandemic claimed millions of lives, right? Global pandemics are nothing new. Right? humanity and life continues to progress and exist and move forward, and friendships continue to be forged and experiences continue to happen, and we're seeing new businesses starting during this pandemic, like we talked about in the news segment before. We're seeing new adventures happening and people finding ways to adapt things that they've loved doing forever to the new situation, right? COVID is not going to last forever. It's not. How long is it going to last? I don't know, but it's not going to last forever. Okay? We will get back to some semblance of normal, but as I've asked many a time, what is normal anyway? All life is moving through the changing environment and continuing to pursue the things that matter to you. That's what life is. Circumstances change, right? The political situation changes. We have pandemics, the economy changes and fluxes, where you live and where you identify as home changes, and the people in your life change. We continue to move forward through a changing environment and chase the things that matter to us. That is what life is. So if you're that person who's sitting there thinking that COVID is just wrecking everything and we're never going to be okay, and we will. 100% we will, right? By the end of it, this is a blip on the radar, right? Like, our grandkids are never going to ask us,
Grandpappy, what was your experience like during COVID?
They're never going to ask us about that. This is a big deal to us right now because we're living it. But once this is over, it's a blip on the radar and it's gone, right? So continue to find a way to look for the light and you'll find it. Right? So, it's the end of the world, but I'm still drinking whiskey and I'm still happy. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have for the show today. Now is the time where you get to ask me your questions. We've had some really good questions the past few weeks about books and about characters and about all kinds of fun stuff. There's a bunch of new people on the show. Portia, welcome to the show. Right? Mike is watching. There's a bunch of people. Right? So, what questions do you have? What do you want to talk about? Now is your time to have your voice heard. All right. While I'm waiting for you to drop your first questions in the comments, many of you may have noticed a little bit of a change in the format, in the sense that I'm now creating events for the show on the front side. I'm doing that for a reason. One, to help build some, viewership, because obviously I want more people to watch the show and engage in it. So we now have the ability to share that event out. You all know when it's going to happen and what's going to go on with it. Thank you for the love, whoever is putting that in there, right? So we now have more of an opportunity to share that around and, get more people involved in the show. But additionally, because this is a great place for you to be able to drop your questions in on the front side. If you want to post your questions on the front side when they pop into your head, you can drop them right there on the event post, and then we'll go through them when we get to this segment on the next show. So just something to think about. Got a couple of questions that dropped in from Michael. How many different IPs concepts do you have for your written literature? Like, so freaking many. A ton. Yeah, so I've been thinking, I've been writing my whole life, and I've talked about this on the show before, but I've been writing my entire life. Like, my mom still has, like, these really terrible short stories I wrote when I was a kid, about, like, this monster who lost his mitten and some other stuff. I don't know. I once wrote a story about, like, the 49ers defeating the Raiders in the Super Bowl, like, 5,000-0 or something crazy like that. I've been writing my whole life. And so, for a lot of my life, especially when I was in the military, I didn't have time or, stability to be able to sit down and write full-length novels. So a lot of times what I would do is I would come up with an idea and I would jot down, the baseline of that idea, or, just kind of start shaping out a plot synopsis and then leave it be, and then over time I would come up with something else and work on something else. So a lot of those have continued to live on in the form of stacks of legal pads that I have crammed into my desk with story starts on them, stuff like that. I also have a lot of stuff kicking around in my brain. There's a lot of stuff. because here's the thing, I don't want to be that writer who writes one series in one world with one group of characters, and I recognize that that's really cool, right? So like Anne McCaffrey with the Dragon Riders of Pern, like that's what she's known for, that was her big deal, everything that she wrote was tied into that universe. Same thing with like Tolkien and, you know, and a lot of the other big name writers out there. Johnny, welcome to the show. You know, and that's awesome, that's really cool. But that's not where I want to be. I don't want to write the Arken forever. You know what I mean? I love those characters. I love that world, but I want to do more. And that's why A Thin Red Line is such a drastic departure from, you know, the Fists of Arken. Completely different world, different setting, different writing style, all of it. And then we're going to go back to Arken, and then we're going to break away from that again. And, you know, and then if I ever do a third Arken novel, I don't know. I don't have a plot synopsis or ideas for a third, so who knows? You know, but where I go next after, you know, Arken's done and after the Thin Line series is done is really hard to tell, because I've got so many different things. I've got some sci-fi stuff. I've got, you know, some kind of action romance stuff. I mean, I got just 8 million things, man. Like, you know, this is what I do, right? Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. All I want to do is write books and tell stories, right? So, you know, gotta have a plethora of opportunities to do that, I suppose. But yeah, thank you. Great question. Have you seen the new quarter with the bat puppies on it? I have, actually. Yeah. Didn't you bring us home some?
I have 2.
Yeah, they're super cute. So for those of you that don't know, I love bats. I love them. I think they're amazing animals. They're adorable. They're sky puppies. I love bats. I'm a huge supporter of a bat rescue in Australia and another bat rescue on the East Coast of the United States that it's headquartered out of a bunch of different locations. Bats are amazing, and we need bats for our ecosystem, right? I get that they're kind of scary because they're like creatures of the night and like vampires and blah, blah, blah. But 99% of bats have zero interest in people. They'll only bite a person if they feel cornered or threatened. That's just not what they do. You know, but we need them. A North American bat will eat 1,000 bugs in a night, right? If they are in a food-rich environment. And the part of the world that I live in, there are like 8 million bugs. So I want the bats. My wife and I have talked about hanging bat boxes in our trees. I know there are a couple of bats at least that habitate the treetops around my property because I've seen them swooping. But they're amazing, amazing animals. So the bat quarters I got really excited about. Yeah. Next tattoo idea, or have you had any done since the Avatar inspired piece on your hand? No, I don't have any new work since that. So what he's talking about is this one right here. So if any of you are familiar with the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, this is the White Lotus, which is a prominent symbol in that series, and then later becomes the White Lotus Society in like full-blown, like regimented style in the second series, Korra. Then these are the symbols of the various nations. So this is the Fire Nation, the Air Nomads, the Earth Kingdom, and the Water Tribes. So that series and that story is very powerful and impactful for me. I've, you know, just gained a lot of life wisdom out of that show. And I know it seems a little bit strange, like a 34-year-old man gains life wisdom out of a cartoon, but it's incredibly intelligently written and the characters are amazing. And I love that show. I got that right before the COVID pandemic kind of kicked off, and there are some issues with it resulting from that. So one, hand tattoos are notoriously difficult to get the ink to stay, so you're gonna have to have touch-ups. So there's that. And then right after I got it, we had to start like hand washing all the time and 8 million gallons of sanitizer and stuff, and so it pulled some of the ink out of it. So I got to get that redone, and I haven't had anything done since then, primarily due to COVID. So kind of my next thing, I'll get that touched up, and then I'm probably going to do my South Park tattoo next. Probably. I love South Park. I love that show. I know a lot of people think it's stupid, but I call it stupidly intelligent. So they tackle some really amazing social issues and all kinds of stuff in that show in a way that seems like off-color jokes, but it's really smart, and I love that show so much. So I've designed a South Park tattoo for my thigh, featuring Mysterion and Kenny and, you know, Cartman as the goon. The goon. Because that'll probably be my next one. I don't know. I got a ton of stuff. I got to get this one worked on, and I have one designed for my shoulder. I have a back piece design. I got a ton of stuff. Yeah. And the Shums is like super into the idea of getting like a princess sleeve, and
Very
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. so yeah, really, really fun. I love tattoos. I love them. I used your favorite word? Plethora? I don't know. What word is that? Tell me what your favorite word is. Swampy, Ohio, bats are buddies. I've got some that hang out a little too close to the other side of the wall. Sometimes they can be, a little pesky, but wildlife does what wildlife does. Any plans for additional merch potentially from your books? Yes, actually. So my wife and I are working on a whole bunch of stuff. We've got some great ideas for additional stickers, and we kind of tested out the stickers at VetFest when I was out there for the release of A Thin Red Line. And then I'm sending out stickers with every book that's ordered direct from me. So that's kind of the start of it, was the stickers. And we're working on some new designs for stickers and stuff like that. But we've also got some cool ideas for t-shirts and, hoodies and some other fun stuff. I've got a really cool idea that I actually haven't told Shums yet, but so A Thin Red Line features a lot of military characters, and so what I want to do is I want to come out with a line of t-shirts or hoodies that have like, the U.S. Army name tape, and then like that character's last name, and then like, that character's rank insignia or whatever, and then I want to have a portion of the proceeds from those shirts go to military charities, but I haven't really refined that super yet, so it's just something I'm kind of working on. And then A Thin Blue Line, which will be the next book in the Thin Line series, will feature kind of what amounts to the beginning of the Second American Revolutionary War. And during that time, we're going to see a new American battle flag come out. And so I'm really excited for that, because then I can do, t-shirts and hoodies, whereas we normally put the American flag on, the shoulder or something like that. I can do like, the American rebel battle flag kind of deal. So there's a ton of ideas. And honestly, what it comes down to, Michael, is time, right? So anything that you're going to do like that involves design time and then execution time, or, at the very least, forging partnerships with other people who will make this stuff for you. And all of that is very time consuming. And I don't have a ton of time right now. So, hopefully, as things progress forward, I get a little bit more time back in my day and I can start doing some of those things. Because I want to definitely bring it out to you guys. Like, one of the stickers that we had at VetFest was for the Fists of Arken, and it said, do you even Arken, bro? And then, the Fists of Arken. And I love that sticker because people look at it, and it happened at VetFest. People looked at the sticker and they're like, what is this? What is this? And then you're like, yeah, it's from, it's from my book, it's from the Fists of Arken, blah, blah, blah. And then you start talking to them about it, and then they get really excited about it, and they buy a book, and they buy a sticker, and it's just awesome. So I have this really cool, like, image in my head of one of you guys that, likes my work, being out in there in the world, and, with, like, the, do you even Arken, bro, on a sweatshirt or something like that, and then they're like, yo, what is your shirt about? I just, I like that idea, so, we'll see. Time to add an employee to Arken Forge Publishing. No, we don't make enough money for that. Yeah, so, I mean, as I've talked about before, my margins on my books are razor thin, and I keep it that way for a reason. So, like, what I mean by that is the amount of money that I make personally, or that Arken Forge Productions, which is the parent company behind everything that I do, the amount of money that company makes and that I make off of what I sell is super thin. Like, I don't make a lot off of these things. And I know, as many of you have told me, and I really appreciate that you would be willing to pay, $20 for my book instead of 12. And I really appreciate that. But here's why I'm never going to do that. Yeah, I can't promise you prices will never go up on the books, because as production costs change and shipping costs change and stuff, I may have to adjust. But I will always keep it as low as possible, because I want the art to be as accessible as it can be to everyone. I don't want it to be where, people can't buy my books or read my books because they can't afford it, and they've got to wait and hope that someday it shows up in a used bookstore for $3. I don't want that to happen. Art has to be accessible. Thank you, Michael. Yeah. Art should be accessible to as many people as possible. And that's what I view my books as. It's art. And I want people to be able to experience that. I know personally that a good book can get you through some really dark circumstances and just tough times in your life. And I would hope that someday for someone, my book would be the thing that helps them get through that dark period of their life. But what if the price point is too high and they never bought it because they couldn't afford it, so then it wasn't there to help them through that dark time? And maybe that's a really, romantic view of how art relates to the world, and that's fine. But my price points are super low with that belief that art should be accessible to everyone in mind. So because of that, I don't make a lot of money, and maybe that'll change someday, hopefully a, New York Times bestseller and making movies out of my books and stuff like that. And, maybe I get enough money that Arken Forge Productions can hire some people and, whatever. But long story short, that's just not in the cards right now because I don't make a lot of money. Can you really see us secretly on your cameras naked? No, I cannot. And I don't want that. Yeah. I have zero interest in... What in the San Quentin Correctional Facility are you doing?
Ryan Tesman said that Facebook won't let him comment.
Facebook won't let you comment. I am sorry for that. I don't know why. It happened to a couple of people last week too. Facebook is like limiting the number of comments you can put on live videos because of like spamming interdiction or something like that. I don't understand what's going on with that. Lori, welcome to the show. How's it going? All right. But yeah, so like I said, hopefully, my work situation changes to a point where I get a couple more hours back in my day and I can start developing that merchandise and stuff like that. But, for right now, it's like a little piece at a time. But yeah, there we are. We do need to like take some high quality pictures of the stickers and like put those up on the pages so people can, I guess, order those. We can do that. We have some cool stickers.
We do.
Yeah. All right. We've been on for an hour and 11 minutes. There are 10 of you on the show, so we'll give it a couple more minutes. Anybody who's got any questions about my work, my books, art in general, life, anything you want to ask about, shoot. Let's have one or two more questions before we kick this thing for the day. My wife wants me to kick it because I'm making salmon chowder and she wants me to finish it.
I love salmon chowder.
Hashtag stickers, baby.
Hashtag
I like
made by
that,
Shums.
Chris. Yeah, man. Huh?
Hashtag made by Shums.
Yep. Hashtag made by Shums. So I have never been a hashtag person. I never understood how hashtags were used or why people were doing them in the first place. And I was kind of like that old before my time codger who was sitting there going, it's not a hashtag, it's a pound sign. Right? But now that I've started using social media more and more and more, and I'm on all the social media things, right? Like, I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and I have a Snapchat that I don't use. But, and I've started using hashtags, and now I understand what they're for. So because of that, I've gotten wild with my hashtags, right? So every time I take a picture that even relates to peanut number one, aka Shums, I create these little hashtags, right? So we have hashtag made by Shums, hashtag pics with Shums, hashtag travel with Shums, and then hashtag Shums. So it's really, really fun. Now you're hungry. That is unfortunate. Eat food. Your hashtag was great. I was going to say something earlier, but I clicked it thinking it was going to be a big thing. Yeah, nah, the hashtags are new. Give us a tease into the next work. Okay, so the next work, as we talked about, is the Tears of Arken, second in the Arken series. And so if you've read the first book, you may remember that at the end of the Fists of Arken, Queen Leandria makes a lot of decisions about the future of the kingdom, right? And so she changes some laws and changes some organizational structures and stuff like that, right? Well, some of those decisions may not go over so well. So there might be a little bit of unrest in the world. Simultaneously, Jaxus needs to figure out why the Jurin people can never settle down, why they're so forever magnetically pulled back to the Jurin Island. So he's going to go take a look at how that works, and some folks are going to go with him. Meanwhile, some old villains from the Fists of Arken are still up to their plotting schemes. So we'll see how that comes to pass. Additionally, Lord Brustus. That guy's trouble, right? So he's going to be up to some trouble in the Elk Fist. That is going to cause some other people to do their utmost to protect the citizenry en masse. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. You've eaten the salmon chowder. You know what I can do with dead fish. Yeah. Look, I'm not very good at a lot of things, but I can cook. Do you even Arken, bro? Yeah, I know. I need to make that into a hoodie. I really do.
Grab it.
Huh?
You want me to grab it?
Yeah. She'll go get the Arken bro sticker so we can show it to you. We have a couple of them left. But yeah, so it's going to be really cool, man. So like I said, like the first book, it's like total war, right? Kingdom under attack by overwhelming military force, desperate to save their kingdom, save their lives. Like it's cray-cray, right? Second book, we don't have that total war anymore. Now it's a lot more subterfuge and like, you know, trying to figure out how we do this thing as a kingdom, which begs the question, do you even Arken, bro? But yeah, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be an awesome book. I'm super excited. The plot synopsis is really fun for me to work on, and I just new characters that are going to be very, very interesting to look at. We're also going to take a look at a tale that has been told many, 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 many times in many different ways, including by Kevin Costner with a horrible British accent, told in a new way in a new universe, which I'm really excited about. Meanwhile, I will come back and hunt the world of Arken after my epic death, and will be killed again. Maybe. Somebody said something, and I missed it. Oh, how's it doing a live show on Monday? It's fine. It's fine. So the show is on Monday this week because I was traveling over the weekend. It'll go back to its regular time eventually. Nothing about the Navy in your books. That's not true. That is not true at all. There is nothing about the Navy in the Fists of Arken because the United States Navy does not exist. But we do talk about, like, you know, naval warfare ships that Arken possesses and some seafaring and stuff in brevity in the Fists of Arken. But there is a very prominent character in A Thin Red Line that is Navy, well, former Navy, right? Yeah. I have no bias against the Navy. I never served in the Navy, but I had family members that did, so I got nothing against the Navy. Arken stickers on a poster board picture on the wall behind you. Yes, absolutely.
We have
Yep.
these ones.
Oh yeah. And so these are one of the stickers that gets sent out if you order a book directly from me, which is that logo. God, I hate this like backwards camera stuff. But that's the Jack Kiesling Books logo just redone so it fits a little bit better. So you get one of these in various colors when you order a book directly from me, and then you get a specific sticker for that book. So if you order A Thin Red Line, you get a Pacific Coast Militia sticker, which if you haven't read the book, you don't know what that is. And if you order the Fists of Arken direct from me, do you even Arken, bro? Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. Yeah, I don't write fantasy. I appreciate the hashtag, I don't write fantasy. So we think about the definition of fantasy. A fantasy novel is one where there are typically, you know, mages or magic involved. There can be witches, warlocks, whatever the case may be, mystical creatures, you know, things that break the laws of physics, things like that. Whereas in my work, I don't write about things like that, and there's a reason for it. I have a hard time conceptualizing things that I can't put my fingers on, okay? So I'm a very visual person. So when I think about things, you know, whether it's story ideas or, you know, work stuff, whatever, I visualize it in my head as I'm thinking about it. That's how I write. So, and I know just a number of people that, you know, wrote reviews or talked to me about, you know, my first book when it came out. They said that, you know, that was one of the big things for them is they could see it as they were reading it. And I think that a lot of that has become because of how my brain works. I visualize as I write. It's really hard for me to create some of those, like, you know, physics bending or, you know, natural world breaking concepts because I can't visualize them. And certainly I have an idea of what dragons look like, so I could write about dragons. But I have to think about, okay, how does it breathe fire? Or how does it, possess this strength? Or how does the magic actually work? And if I can't come up with the physics or the laws behind how it works, I can't write about it. So, for example, Harry Potter. I love the Harry Potter series. I've read all the books many times. I've seen all the movies. I love them. I love them. I love them. However, it's really hard for me to wrap my brain around how this magic works because I can't understand the laws or the physics behind it. Okay. So in that universe, they can wave a wand and say some words and poof, something appears in front of them. But my mind starts breaking that down and it says, okay, but that matter that thing is created from, the building blocks of that thing had to come from somewhere. So where did it come from? And then, they can, and then, shoot energy out of the wand that like breaks things and pushes people and whatnot. But where did that force come from? How did that happen? So while I love it, it's really hard for me to understand the laws or the building blocks behind it. And because of that, I couldn't write it. Avatar: The Last Airbender possesses similar challenges for me in the sense that it's hard for me to understand the mechanics or the physics behind how they make the world or the elements respond to their thought processes. But, it's entertaining for me to watch and I can get immersed in that universe, but I can't write it. So I don't do fantasy. I do action adventure. I do romance. I do conspiracy. I do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I don't do fantasy. And maybe someday my brain will, grow up a little bit. I don't know. Who knows? And there are a couple of things, like a couple of story ideas I have that break the laws of physics and, quantum mechanics and stuff like that. And I have one that messes with time and how time relates to the real world that I'm kind of interested to dive into. But that's a project that I've had in my brain for a long time that I've very much hesitated to start working on because I can't get my brain to think through the mechanics of it. So, because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and therefore, right? So if the character has the ability to stop time, well, how far into the universe does that effect work? Does it work infinitely into the universe? Does aliens living on planet Quarks in the, Betheta galaxy suddenly stop moving at the same time? And if it doesn't, then wouldn't eventually the rotation of the universe and stuff get thrown out of whack by that? And it's just the way my brain works for, natural world stuff like that is just very complicated. The next leap will be the leap home. I love Quantum Leap. I love that show. But again, that's something I couldn't write because while they did a pretty good job of creating plausible deniability for the inner workings of the science behind it, I couldn't write it because my brain can't wrap around the mechanics of it. So it was a fun conversation though. So thank you for that, David. Quantum Leap is a great TV show. It's great. Yeah. All right. An hour and 22 minutes. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show today. It was a fun show. Next week, we'll be back on our regularly scheduled date and time, Saturday at 17:30. Look for the event post, episode 5. Yeah, it'll be really, really fun. If you know anyone who would be a great fit for the talent segment, they can sing, they can dance. After all, miss, this is France. Have them send in a video, right? 3 to 5 minute video showing off their talent. We'll put it up on the show. We'll talk about them. We'll celebrate them. We'll get them a little internet exposure across all the platforms and all that stuff. It'll be super, super fun. If you know anyone who would be a good fit for the interview segment, they've got a band, they've got a business, a nonprofit, anything like that, and you're like, man, these people deserve to be interviewed for the show, let me know. We've got some stuff coming up in the next few episodes that are going to be pretty exciting, and I'm very, very, very jazzed to show to you. But if you know anybody else out there who should be featured on the show, put them in touch with me. Let's get them on. All right? Be kind to one another. Celebrate each other's wins and help each other through the losses. We will get through COVID. We will get through every other terrible thing that's going on around us because that is what we do as human beings. We keep going. Look for the light and you'll find it. Love you guys. We out.